Hey,
Hello.
what's up, buddy? How are you?
Yo, dude, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Hell yeah. So, dude,
Oh,
this is a Wally coach right
yeah.
here. So, you
Much love,
you
ViBE.
let me know what you're looking for, like in terms of I guess race, league, and I guess general idea of what you want to improve on, like what your play style is, I guess, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so lately I started playing a lot more aggressive in beginning instead of macroing up as Zerg. I'm Diamond 1 on Europe,
Okay.
and I'll be trying to get into Masters next season.
Okay. Nice, dude. Uh, so this is not required, but it's an optional thing. But if you have it, do you have any replays you want to take a look at for things that you might be wanting to improve on, or would you like to kind of, or actually first just yeah, do you have replays or no?
No,
Okay,
well, I have replays, but nothing.
okay, no worries, that's fine.
Uh,
So basically, what we can do then is you can kind of like walk me through what like your play style, and I can help you go down a path that will give you more efficiency to what you do. And
yeah,
then I'll just kind of make sure you understand what's going on and what the things you should be looking for. And
yeah,
I guess another way to do this is, or a good way to look at this as well would be whatever matchup you think you want the most improvement on. I would recommend focusing on the one. So if like you're a ZVT, if ZVP is a struggle for you, maybe focus on ZVP or something like that, rather than all three. Whereas
yeah,
the build itself can be kind of applicable to all three to a degree, and I can talk about that too. But yeah, mostly
yeah,
fine tuning the one matchup is great.
yeah. So I think what I'm struggling against the most right now is Protoss.
Okay.
Pretty good idea about Terran and Zerg. Like, Ling Bane into Roach, maybe Mutas, depending on what you see, but definitely mostly Protoss.
Okay. Sounds good. So, what's your general idea? Like, what's the general composition you want to go for when you play against Protoss?
Well, it depends what I see, right? But
Yeah.
most of the time, as Void Rays are so popular nowadays,
Yeah.
I usually quite quickly go into Mutas, but then they go into Phoenixes, and the
Yeah.
upgrade is quite big as well. So then you're fucked. So I changed to
Yeah.
I changed to Hydras and tried to get it from there. But then they add some Colossus. Then you're back into Corruptors. All that jazz. But I'm just games against Protoss usually take so long. It would be nice to have some kind of early aggression that you can do some damage. Sure, you can do lane bane
Yeah.
push, but it, if they have a battery and a sentry, and you waste like 9 banes getting in there, then you're so behind, and then you're fucked from the get go. So
I agree.
yeah,
Okay.
so I don't. Yeah,
I already have an idea about what I can do to help you further,
yeah,
and basically, this is kind of where I'm thinking for you. Okay, so this is gonna
Oh,
give you like options as
yeah.
well. With
hmm
you could either go into a macro game if you want to, or you could transition your build what looks like macro initially, because it's always gonna open identical to what it normally does. But
yeah,
once you have like the gas going down a certain path, the build deviates. So what you
hmm
can do is you can do a build where you can line up like Ling Ravager pressure, like Ling Roach
hmm
Ravager, and you can just straight up
hmm
all in your opponent. If you want to do that to your opponent, it is an option. It's not required. Or
yeah,
you do a build that more goes down the path of Speedling opener with safety, and then you go into Roach follow up. After Roach follow up, it'll go into like Roaches are in the phase of the game where like if you get all in, you'll have Roaches. If you don't get all in, you
hmm
don't have to keep making them essentially.
yeah,
So then
yeah,
you could go from Roaches. You could use them to pressure. If he's macroing, you could like actually use whatever Roaches you made, which is not going to be many by the way, maybe like 8 or so.
yeah,
You could
yeah,
pressure like third base with them or something, and then go back into like
yeah,
Ling, Hydra, Lurker, shit like that.
yeah.
How do you feel about Lurkers?
I love them.
Okay, good. Because I would say for the today's meta of ZvP, Lurker styles are superior to Spire styles.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
too many Protosses are going back in the Stargate trend, and Stargate beats Spire.
hmm
If they ever see you're going for mutas before mutas are already in their base, you'll always
Yeah,
lose. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. I
well,
mean, some of the time you manage to get some damage on a company of the mutas
yeah,
because you get like 8 of them, and then only have like one void ray. But
yeah.
if there's a fucking battery charge there,
Yeah.
then you just start crying. You're like, yeah, I just waited 800 minerals and
Yeah.
800 gas, whatever.
Yeah, and
This,
the worst part is if they actually if they actually see the spire before your mutas
yeah,
even
yeah,
spawn, and they have
yeah,
like 10
exactly.
phoenixes you get
Yeah,
there or
exactly.
something.
Yeah,
You're
then
like,
you're like,
oh, I'm
oh,
fucking dead.
yeah, yeah, cry me a river.
Yeah. So I would say Hydra styles into lurkers are gonna be good for you, and then
Hmm.
it really for going into masters. Okay, so like for the goal of going to Masters League, I don't think
Hmm.
you need to worry about adding on spellcasters yet. I would say in masters, infestors and vipers would make more sense, but just for
Hmm.
the sake of getting yourself into masters,
Hmm.
if you use spellcasters now, it'll just overcomplicate things for you and it'll make it feel awkward.
Okay.
So really, what it
Yeah.
should be is it should be learning how to attack efficiently with Ling Hydra Lurker, essentially. And
Ling Hydra. Yeah.
all it really is understanding how to set up a siege, and then also or either that or defend a pressure and get ready to launch a counterattack. And it's always going to
Yeah.
be trying to launch Lings into their base when they're doing something else with your lurkers. So you don't
Yeah.
always have to have your army in one group just attacking one spot. Ling run-bys are fucking huge.
Are you saying I shouldn't be using F2? I'm just fucking with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, no. All right, so are you on the European server right now? I can hop over if you are.
I'm not. I could jump on wherever
Alright.
you want. It's
Are-
just I'm having a hard time doing the Ling micro bane on the NA because there's a little delay there. So,
Yeah, let's go Europe. It's fine.
but I can.
So on Europe, I'll just I guess I'll just join like channel ViBE or something.
You could just Slack me on, not Slack, Discord me or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Here. Okay, I just sent you my infos.
Yeah, adding.
And then yeah. Yeah. I'll what I guess I'll do, what we can do this time, is I will actually make a build for you.
Yeah.
And then I'll have you kind of recreate it yourself. So I'll give you I think I want to make you 2 builds, okay? So the first build is going to be the all-in version, and the second build is going to be the macro version. So you actually get a visual of what they both should look like.
Yeah.
And we'll go through them and talk about them and stuff like that. And then I'll have you do it as well and see see how it goes for you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So I will invite you to a game. Okay, I'll make you a spectator. All right, so this one will just be the all-in version, okay? So
Yeah.
essentially all we're gonna do is the build's gonna develop the same, but we're just never gonna take off gas. We're gonna leave the one gas mining the whole time, and it's gonna give us enough gas to make a chunk of roaches, and then morph them into ravagers as the fight goes. And as you have ravagers in your fight, the best thing you could be doing is either sniping the battery or popping the force field. Popping the force field is great as well if they only have like 1 sentry.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go for a 16 hatch, super standard. We're going to go like 16, 18, 17.
Yeah. How's your cough, by the way? You've been doing that for quite some time.
I know. It's I have like this it's like my it's almost like mini asthma type thing. Like it's like I lose breath and then I have to like clear my throat and then I can breathe again.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it? Like medicine?
Well, let's just say I haven't done anything about it. I'm I'm irresponsible.
Maybe you should.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Alright, so we're going into a gas. 18 gas, 17 pool.
Do you do this as standard against Protoss?
Yeah. You're gonna do this with both builds. So
Because I always do 16, 16, 16, basically.
okay, I would say not necessarily needed for that. 16
Okay.
hatch is very nice because you can avoid the block of your natural.
Yeah, I know that, but the
Yeah.
16 pool, do pool before the gas, because if they do some cannon rush, you get your links out a little bit quicker. I don't know, you know.
Well, here's the thing with this build: if you get cannon rush, just use Ravagers, like as well.
Okay,
So
yeah, okay, yeah.
Ravager
Okay.
defense just shits on cannon as well.
Okay, awesome.
All right, and then we'll make another Overlord, and we're not making any Lings yet, by the way. So against Protoss, you don't make Lings until like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, because you don't need to otherwise. The only time it ever makes sense to make Lings early is if you have the intention to run into their base right away, and then like try to smack a probe or something or be annoying. Otherwise, not worth.
How do you do the scouting, you know, for proxies and stuff?
So I'm gonna pause really fast. So
Yeah.
basically, at this point in the game right now, your first Overlord that's scouting into his base, very worthwhile to have this Overlord go deeper against your standard Protoss and find out what is their initial opener. Is it you know, standard gate Nexus core? Is it, you know, no Nexus? Is it is there defensive production, or is it proxied? Is it just missing? Things like this are important. So you basically, I would say it would be a good reaction to make Zerglings if you got your Overlord to his base and you saw there was no fucking gateway at the natural doorway or at the main ramp. There's just no gates at all. You're like, okay, it's all missing, and no Nexus. I'd be like, okay, you can make you could start making Lings right now. And here's the thing: if it was proxied, you would have Zealots walking in your base within the next like 10 seconds. Or like right around now, Zealots would start walking in your base. And if that happened, all you got to do to defend that is, like, again, this is another thing too, where if you want to, I could give you a visual of this. We just have to like set up a game for it. But all you would do is make like a few spines behind your middle line in your main. You would just start making start making Lings and have with the queens that spawn, literally run them around. Just do not inject. Do not, if you can, try to spec creep between your bases if the Zealots are not near it. But running away from a Zealot on creep is easy because a queen's faster than a Zealot. So if you just buy time running in circles, you can buy time for your spines to finish and more Lings to spawn, and you can actually.
I haven't played much SC2
you can actually,
but still.
You can actually outproduce the Zealots with just your double hatchery, because he's one base holding you and you have 2 base production already. So you will have a little bit of excess of production there. But yeah, like, proxies aren't that huge of a deal, because if the only proxy that would be a relevant thing would be the proxy 4-gate or proxy 3-gate, like Zealot all in. And if it was that, it's just you'd run around, make Lings, make spines, and then you're okay. If it was anything besides that, you're going for speed early, so you're going to be making an army pretty fast anyways, and you would crush whatever it is that is not that.
Okay.
Because then your all in phase is already kicking in for you too.
Yeah.
All right. And then also for the scouting for the Overlord, the second Overlord, I love it to sit in front. For my opinion is I like the second Overlord to sit in front of your natural, so you know if a cannon rush is happening, and then once your natural's done, you go across the map. Your first Overlord goes right to his natural and then deep dives into his main to find out what tech he opens, because it's really important to see what he builds after the core if you can. That's massive. Yeah. And then and a huge thing too is if you ever saw, here's the thing. A good reaction would be if the Protoss revealed what tech he's going for, which it was after he built the core with your Overlord right now, and you right around now as well as when you are going to want to be taking your drones off of gas. If you spot anything that is not a Stargate, there's a very high chance you'll kill them. So if you spot a Council or a Robo, you're probably going to just win the game. Or if you spot nothing, there's a good chance you might just win the game with this. However, if you see a Stargate, that is the one thing that I would say it's kind of questionable now. Maybe don't do the all-in. Because if he goes Voids defensively, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to be like, shit. Okay, Voids are fucking just killing all my roaches and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stargate bad for all-ins for you, and everything else is good for you because it increases the chances you'll win.
Okay.
And then if you see nothing and you're just committed to it, here's the thing too. Yeah. If you commit to it, if you don't take off gas after you have the Zergling speed, just commit to it. So like, for instance, if you go, oh shit, it's a Stargate and I'm already at 80 gas after getting speed. Well, don't just stop doing it then. You've already committed so much time to it as it is. Just fucking go for it. because
Yeah.
timing is pretty important in StarCraft 2, and this all-in doesn't necessarily have to be like you could just do a smaller wave essentially. Like you could do like your initial push, or you could do something like you could try and bait your opponent into a weird spot so they're out of position while you do your timing. Like you got to be more careful about avoiding the void or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But like it's just not a great thing for you if you already invested into it, and then you're like, you know what? Never mind. I've invested the last 30 seconds into doing this all in, or 45 seconds, but now I'm just not going to do it because that it fucks your own build up really severely at that point.
Yep.
It is still doable to beat a Stargate. It's just less likely.
Yeah.
All right. So all right, cool.
Game resumed.
All right. So we're gonna throw down our roach one around 31 supply. We're just making drones. So this drone in my main base that's about to spawn, we can have that become our roach horn, and you can like hide it in the back of your base or something like that. Now with queens, we're gonna do double injects, and now we're gonna start making a couple of overlords just so we don't supply block, and then we're gonna start making lings. We're not gonna go mass lings either. We're just gonna make a couple lings. We're gonna make like probably 6, and then go back to making overlords because we need a big supply cushion for the what's it called, for the roaches.
Okay.
And then also, if your overlord dies while scouting like ours just did, you're gonna need to also fix that too. So we're definitely in the overlord phase right now.
You go up to 26 drones before starting making lings, and once the roach one is popping, I'm assuming you're just gonna make.
We go to 27 drones because we have that 31st drone becomes a roach horn.
Okay.
So 31 supply is the goal with 2 queens.
Yeah,
It
31
just
supply, but I'm just meaning harvesters or drones, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, yeah.
You have 26 right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And well, it's because I made the roach horn and it deleted the drone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I am now going to start making. I just made about 6 roaches, and my lings are here just to like defend scouting and stuff like that. Like if a probe comes in, the lings would kill it. But now I have 6 roaches out, and now we just fucking go. So this build is super easy peasy. It's not that difficult. Like the lings should go first as well, like how we just killed the probe there.
Yeah.
That way he doesn't know you're roach all-inning if you can possibly prevent him from seeing it. And as you get to his base, pop down like 2 Ravagers.
Yeah.
And then you still don't take off gas. So behind this, we're still injecting, we're still making lings. And we're going to make more Ravagers as time goes on. And just increase the Ravager count. And you can do it ideally with roaches that take damage. So you take like a yellow or a red roach, turn it into a Ravager, it spawns again with full health as a Ravager. Yeah. And you're good to go. And then you can use these Ravagers to crack force fields or to crack a battery.
Yeah.
And this is the whole build. And then from this, if you don't actually want to kill them, or if you find, let's say your macro wasn't flawless and you're like, oh, my money's going up, if you're not injecting and making your lings as good as you could be, you could always take a 3rd base behind this and then switch into drones. And as soon as you take a 3rd base, you should take a 3rd queen so you can start spreading creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the whole build.
Easy enough.
Yeah, super easy peasy. Alright. Okay. Submit the computer here. Submit! Okay. So that's that one. That's the all-in version. The macro version is going to be very similar. And it's going to deviate as soon as the gas hits 100, where now, instead of double injecting, we're going to do a creep and an inject. And instead of making the roach horn, we're going to make the 3rd base. You still do make a roach horn with the macro version, you just make it a little bit later.
Did I leave your group? I did.
No worries, I'll get another game going. So I would say also as well, just make sure you save that replay, just so you don't lose it, and that's like that'll just be a reminder of all-in version of this build essentially. And then I'll invite you to this one, and I will show you macro, and then I'll have you do it yourself. Oops, make spectator, add AI. Okay, now this will be macro version. So this one, I will take you all the way to Hive Tech, and it goes the same every time. Reacting to what your opponent does could change based off the fact that if they're all-inning you, you have the ability to make either more queens or more roaches and ravagers. So I'm gonna pause it really fast and just say this really quick. So if you get all in and it's like you're getting all in by a guy going double Stargate and he's just massing voids, you don't have to make a shitload of roaches with that or ravagers and stuff like that. You definitely shouldn't even make any ravagers against that. It would be one of those things where you'd want to use maybe like a Zergling to have an idea about how often he's expanding, because you want to know if he's going like void probes, or you want to know if he's going like maybe void charge lots off of like 2 base. And if he's going for like the no macro full on attack version, you'd want to make like Queen Roach. If he's going for like the macro version where he's making tons of economy and he just keeps making Stargate units, you could go Queen Drone and then eventually into Hydras. So
Okay.
And then that would be like the Stargate version. And anything else on the ground, you could go Roach Ravager, literally. Like Ravagers are exceptionally good against Sentry based timings. Like they're a god against that. They're so fucking good. But against everything else, Roach Ravager is just pretty solid. That's just ground focused, because you can always pepper Biles into the Protoss' army.
Mm-hmm.
And then like also
time. Yeah.
the what? Sorry.
Yeah, just buying time.
Yeah, and then it's like the fact that Roaches and Ravagers have different ranges. A Ravager has 6 and a Roach has 4. You get like double concave auto attacks, so you actually do way more DPS. So it's just solid for ground defense, and it's something you can make without any tech, because it's just a Roach Horn. So if you get all in, Roach Ravager or Roach Queen is great defenses for all ins. And if you don't get all in, then the build will go as it goes this game, as I show you. And the timing of the game when you would know you're getting all in is 5 minutes. So if 5 minutes hits on the clock and you have not yet seen a Protoss with a 3rd base, that is beyond the point of standard. That is now into the point of heavy aggression, if not all in. And if you get to the point to where it's like 5.5 minutes in the game, it's like 5:20 plus. That dude, and if he still has not started the 3rd base yet, you should be preparing for like a ridiculously large attack.
Yeah.
Because at that point he could totally have like 8 gateways, and or whatever he's gonna do. Because just to throw numbers out here for you really fast, these are the easiest ways to read Protoss. A greedy Protoss will expand to a 3rd base either before or right up to 4 minutes. So anywhere in the 3-minute range to 4-minute range, like 3:30 to like 4:05. That's like greedy as fuck expansion from Protoss. And the earlier it is, the greedier it is, because if it's like a 3:30 expansion, that means that this dude probably built 1 Stalker and a Stargate, and then he made a 3rd base. And it's like, holy shit, this guy is like so greedy. And your Lings could go kill that and shit like that. But if his 3rd base is more around like maybe 4 minutes, it probably means he went for like 2 gateways and like a Stargate and a 3rd base, which is still really greedy. But it's why it's a little bit later, probably just a tiny bit more units. Anyone who builds their 3rd base around like 440, 430, 440, 450, like still under 5 minutes, but like in the upper 4-minute range, so anywhere between 430 to 450, that is a guy who's doing a standard build, which is usually 4 production facility buildings. So like a Stargate and 3 gateways, or straight up just 4 gateways and shit like that. A Robo 3 gate. Things like this are more standard, and that's why the timing would make sense for that, because that's what you could afford. And anyone who takes a 3rd base after 5 minutes, 100% probably has like anywhere in the range of 6 to 8 production facilities, and they're going to be fucking highly aggressive against you.
Yeah.
So a Ling Scout at the 3rd base is great to do right around like 3 minutes. And that way you can see if he's going to be really greedy, or if the Lings sit there forever, you can see if he's going to be really all in, and so like shit like that. So that's how you can kind of read a Protoss really easy, whether or not you should be making Roaches at those time frames, because that's also going to be that like your Roach Horn should be finishing around like just after 4 minutes. Like we're talking like maybe like 410, 420, and you don't have to rush Roaches right then. You can make like a couple safety Roaches, but by the time you have your safety Roaches, if your opponent still has no 3rd and you're like, okay, we're fucking 5 minutes plus, I have 6 Roaches, he doesn't have a 3rd, let's just start cranking Roaches and like figure out what he's going for. Like make sure I know. And if you check his front door of his base and he has a bunch of ground units, you don't need to make a bunch of Queens. But if you check the front door of his base and he has no ground units other than like 1 Stalker and a battery, and you're getting killed by Voids with your Overlords at his base already, you're like, okay, this is fucking some crazy error bullshit. Maybe I should make more Queens now. Or even better, if he shows you multiple Voids, then you're like, oh, he's got 4 Voids already. Holy crap. But yeah. Anyways, does that all make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So now I'll do this build as if we're going to see a standard 3rd, and we're going to do a standard macro build, because you have the kind of idea of how you'd want to react to all-ins with the timers of everything. But and again, you can always, like, I'm going to send you the VOD too, so if I know everything I just said, if it like goes in one ear and you're like, okay, I remembered some of that, but I'll forget some of that as well, you can always go back and watch what I just said again, or over and over and over, and you can just refresh your mind. But anyways, macro version, okay? Macro version. So If you have any questions during this, feel free to let me know. Ask away, and I'll try to answer it for you. And then otherwise, yeah,
Yep.
let's do this.
Game resumed.
Okay, so we're stacking close batches. Same build opener again, where we're going to go for like a 16, 18, 17. And be good.
You do this opening against all races? No. Well, I wouldn't do it. I would go 16-16 against Esterg, but
You could do the opening of, by the time you take your third base, you could do this against every race.
okay.
So the deviation would be, like, I'll tell you when it deviates in this game.
Yeah.
But so far, you can do everything I'm doing in every matchup. Okay. And then... Now we're gonna make an overlord. Send our overlord out to go scout this out of his base. And we're making drones. So this is when it deviates. In ZvZ and ZvT, you don't want to make Lings. And ZvP, you can just make drones.
Yeah.
Because if it was a charge lot proxy, you're still totally fine because running around is how you beat that while you make spines and shit.
Yeah.
If it's ZvT, ZvZ, you want to make early Lings to either defend a Reaper or be able to go scout the Zerg and shit like that and go pressure, like poke his third base or whatever. Alright, so right now we are getting ready to set up our third base. We're going to take that roughly about 30 supply. So as soon as we hit 30, let's take a drone, send it down to my third base, and get ready to go take that. And we can just chill our overlord on the high ground. It's all good. Take our third base at 30.
Birthed queen.
And we're gonna start making Lings right now at right around 240. And we're gonna make a creep tumor and an evo chamber. I mean, sorry, a creep tumor and a inject, Jesus. And we'll start another queen. And the reason why this is important, I'm gonna pause it really fast just so I talk about this really quickly. The reason why 240 Lings are really nice, and you don't need to make it earlier than that against Protoss, is because standard Protosses who go gate Nexus core, and they or either that or gate core Nexus, does not matter really. Their adept is not going to be attacking your base as fast as like a Reaper can attack your base because you have to make the core and then make the adept, or the stalker or whatever. So they're like Protoss just hits you later, and if you make a couple Lings after, you know, like well later, you have more drones that can just mine longer, which gets your third base out faster, gets your third queen out faster, it just makes your larva spin faster. All your money goes up a little bit because you just have more drones mining for longer. And then once you have Zergling speed, so like we're still gonna make some though in case he sends 1 or 2 adepts at you at this point. So we're still making a few Lings here, but our goal is still gonna be to get roughly 12 Lings by Ling speed. So we'll be good to go.
Yep.
So we're initially making. This is also when a scout is important. Okay, so when you're scouting with Protoss, this is a very specific part of this game. Your first overlord that scouted Protoss, if you saw the Protoss opened with an adept first, I want you to go literally straight up right now to like 10 Zerglings. Well, not like, but exactly 10 Zerglings. You just go from the first 4. If you see, oh, an adept is out, he would adept first. Let's just go straight to 10. Because if you don't go straight to 10, and your opponent opens up double adept, and you just sit on 4 Lings for a while, there's a very high chance you will lose drones. Like, you're not going to be able to stop that. But if they open Stalker first, you can sit on 4 Lings. And so a lot of Protosses do go Stalker first because they want to try and kill your Overlord. And if you if you open Stalker first, you are totally fine to make 4 Lings in case he makes an adept second, and just sit on 4 Lings for a moment, because you're going to make the rest of your Lings that you want to make anyways soon to get to 12 Lings. And you want to have 12 Lings roughly about the same time you have speed. So you're going to be whatever amount of lings you make, either 4 or 10, based on what you see with the Overlord. If it's a Stalker or an Adept, you're going to make whatever's left over. And how also, if you lose lings to an Adept, again, you're going to add that in and make whatever you need to get to about 12 lings. 12 is great when you have Zergling speed. So you're going to make the excess of whatever you need left at like 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And this is only for the purpose of you're making lings, ling speed finishes, and now you have a roughly 12 speedlings that can roam the map at 3:30, and this is how you punish players for greedy fucking third bases. And this is also a great tool to keep Protosses contained, because even if they're not being greedy, you could use these lings to not only spot and scout the third base, but if you could even like pick a probe off, that's fucking wonderful. If the Protoss ever overextends and he's like, I'm gonna poke you with my Adepts and be greedy, and like I don't care that you have speed, I'm gonna still poke you. You're gonna kill those Adepts because like 2 Adepts are gonna easily die to 12 lings with speed. So it just gives you control right now. Is all. And it's not that expensive either. What's up?
No, I'm just.
Oh, okay. I think you were about to say something. But yeah, it's just for control essentially. So again, I'll make lings as if he would have gone 2 Adepts. Okay, I'll make the 10 lings. This is like a little bit of a slower version because you make drones a little bit later. But it doesn't like either way. It doesn't really matter. They're both super efficient. But this is the extra the extra safe version is what I'll do right now.
Okay.
So we already have 4, and we'll go into 10. Yep. And now we're also getting ready to take our third base to get it going here in just a moment. So now we're going into 10 lings. We'll go back into droning for a sec. We just made 1 more round of drones, and now I have the excess of I just need 2 more lings to get to 12. So the next hour, let's make 1 more ling, and now my speed's gonna be done here very soon, and we're gonna get ready to go and poke the fucking whatever it's called, the third base and stuff of Protoss, and I could be poking Adepts and killing Adepts super easy at my base or anything like that right now. Now behind this, I'm taking my Roach Horn around 340. Okay, I'm also going back to making drones. As soon as my natural is fully saturated, which is about to be here in a second, I am going to saturate my gas in my main base, back to 3 out of 3, and I'm going to start saturating my third base, and I'm going to take a layer. This layer is super important because getting Roach speed or getting an Overseer is a very relevant thing for a lot of different forms of what Protoss can do to you. And we made a 4th queen right after the 3rd one finished. So we made 3 queens in a row, 1 by 1 by 1, out of the 3rd base. This way I can continue creep spread. So I'm just going to sit on 4 queens if it's not mass voids, essentially. If it is mass voids or mass air units, you can make more queens than 4. But 4 is pretty solid. And now that I have a good drone count at my 3rd base, I'm going to throw gases down at it. And now that we're sitting around like 4.5 minutes-ish, this is when you want to make safety roaches. So you want to get to like probably like around 16 drones in your 3rd base. Take your gas, saturate your gas with those drones. Make like 6 roaches, and just automatically, just do it. And then if you realize you're getting to 5 minutes plus, and your opponent is still not fucking taking a 3rd base, so this is that moment in the game where it's super important. If you're 5 plus like we are right now, and let's just say the opponent was like still no 3rd, you really, really, really want to try your best to either dive an Overlord into his base and get a kind of a read on what's going on, or run it, or either that, and also you can do this. You can like, they're both important, but you can do either one or you can do both. Overlord in the base and also running a Ling at his doorway and being like, what are you making? Like, what units do you have? What is happening here? And if you see no 3rd plus lots of ground units, this is the moment where you never stop making roaches. Because if you do that, if you're just like, oh, cool, 5 minute, like in 10 seconds and mass units coming out of Protoss on 2 bases and I'm just going to make roaches, you will always have a supply lead over Protoss. And that's the kind of moment where, like, let's say you're getting a charge lot all in or some shit. He'll show up at your base with 10 zealots and you have 14 roaches as he gets there. And suddenly you kill his 10 zealots and you lose half your roaches. But then his next zealots pop out of 8 gateways and he's got 8 again. But you just made roaches the whole time. And now you're, instead of like 10 versus 14, now it's 8 zealots versus like 16 roaches or like 18 roaches. And you're just overwhelming him. And it just gets out of hand super fast in your favor. And it's because you're
yeah.
Or go ahead. You go.
So regarding your 3rd, why do you take the gas on the 3rd and not on the natural?
The reason why I usually do the latest base is because this way you're not disrupting an existing base, and the longer a base is active, the more likely drones are going to rotate themselves into proper patches.
Okay.
So like if, for instance, if I were to take gas in my main, even though I just perfectly saturated my main with like 2 per patch, and then now I have drones at my third base, or I'm sorry, at my natural, that are like currently trying to find a place to go still, and I'm fucking it just increases your income because you keep proper saturation.
Yeah. Okay, great, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, no problem.
Game.
And then so yeah, right now it would be roach all in, like making roaches if it was an all in. If it's not an all in, go back to droning. And now this is when we could add on a 4th base. We could add on a Hydra den. We could also add on 2 Evo chambers. And you add on, no matter what, you always want to add on roach speed right about now too. That is the thing you're going to do regardless.
Do you always add roach speed after directly the layer is done, or do you wait a little bit?
I would say wait just a tiny bit. Unless, I'll pause it really fast. The only time you would want to go roach speed as a priority is if you know you're not going to be attacked by something super early. Like, for instance, if your opponent poked you with the depths and then the adepts died to your lings, and you're like, cool, I don't got to worry about shit now. You can delay roach speed a little bit.
Yeah.
Or sorry, what I meant to say, I said that wrong. If you kill units from the Protoss, you can rush roach speed and delay your roaches a little bit. But if you have not killed anything yet, I would say make the safety roaches first and then get roach speed right after. So, because you got to realize there are some builds that can hit you at like a little bit later with like 5 adepts or like 6 adepts. And if you have roach speed in production and no roaches yet because you prioritize that, there's a chance you're going to take some damage. So kill nothing means make roaches. Kill something means you can go priority of roach speed first and then make roaches. Either way. But I mean, if you always make roaches first, it's still fine. Because you're just making for them, you're only making them for defense. You're not making them for an aggressive timing. So having the roach speed done super fast is not as important because of this. Because you still have the speed benefit of creep either way. And if you're defensive, like, it'll eventually kick in when you need it. But just making sure you don't lose your drones is all that matters. So, I mean, either way you're going to get it. But I would say just go roaches every time for now. Just roaches every time. Make 6. Get roach speed after. And then, you know, if it's all in, make mass roaches. Do not make a Hydra den if it's all in, by the way. Like, you don't have the gas to do that. You just want to make all your gas roaches. And then if you have any excess at all, Ravagers. Unless it's Stargate, then don't make Ravagers ever. Like, you don't need Ravagers against Stargate. Like, if it's like a depth Stargate, you don't want to waste gas on Ravagers. You would rather just make more roaches.
Yeah.
So how you feeling about everything so far? Did it all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, from this point on, I'm developing the build again as if it's standard macro, assuming your opponent has a 3rd base. They're defending it with Stalkers, Sentry, maybe Immortal, whatever. Maybe they open Stargate and they've poked you with an Oracle at this point. It's just a standard ZvP, essentially. There's lots of variations of it, but it's just macro versus macro. So now, again, we're going into a 4th base. We're going to shift back into Ling Hydra, and we're going to go to get ready to go into Ling Hydra Lurker.
Yep.
Okay.
Game resumed.
All right, so we have droned up to about 68, 60, anywhere like 66 plus is great. Anywhere below 70 is fine. You just want to be like 66 plus so you can have fully saturated bases. So it's not looking all, you know, weak and shit. And then now we can start making some Zerglings with this for a moment. And start your Hydra upgrades. And weapon, Carapace, and Hydra upgrades as well. Also, here's an important, super important, okay? This is huge. This is very, 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 very important. This will help you so fucking much if you do this properly. If you play against a Protoss and you know they went Stargate first, go weapons and Carapace. So missile weapons for Hydras and Lurkers, and Carapace for all ground units. If there's Stargate. Because that transitions into dealing with Skytoss super fucking well. If it is not Stargate, and if it is Robo, or like if it's ground-based units, do not get Carapace, get melee and missile weapons. So get both weapons for Lings and Hydras. The reason why this is important is because Carapace actually has massive benefits versus like carriers essentially and like other air units. But
I noticed.
It has literally 0 benefit dealing with ground units. The only unit that actually gets realistic damage reduced with Carapace upgrades on the ground is a zealot, and a zealot is going, if you do the build properly, if you're going for like Lurker Hydra, you're going to watch all the zealots just walk in and die to a bunch of lurkers. Like they're just literally going to get deleted. So it kind of is irrelevant. You can still go Carapace late game, like once you have 3/3 of the other upgrades. So if you're 3 missile, 3 melee, you can eventually get 3 Carapace for your Zerglings. But again, the only time it ever matters is when it's just Zerglings versus just Zealot. And at that point in the game, you'd rather have your Lings beating the shit out of stuff faster, like probes and cannons and the base, because you're doing run-bys with Zerglings, rather than having your Lings kill shit super slow just so they can tank Zealots better.
Yeah.
So yeah, melee's it's so goddamn good against ground-based Protoss. All right, that's a huge part. Just make sure. I would say that is a big piece to remember, because it's going to change the power of your build. So I'm actually gonna what I'm gonna do, because I feel like you're gonna probably play Stargate a little less often if the Protoss goes macro. I mean, I don't, either way, it doesn't matter. I'll just go Carapace. Who gives a shit? I already started it. So again, Carapace is for Stargate. So this is assuming we know he has a Stargate. And then we'll go from there. So if you go this way, you would just get melee upgrades last, which would eventually make your Ling run by stronger. And now that we started a bunch of Lings, and now we have a lot of Ling Roach, you now have the ability to threaten counterattacks. You can poke around the map, and you can like see, can I pick off some probes here and there? Can I do this and that? Whatever. Like, you have the ability to be mobile. This keeps Protoss feeling pressured, which is nice. This allows you to make drones and take your 4th base of drones and go up to about 80 drones. The reason why you don't also want to make Hydras yet is because you don't have any upgrades for them yet. Base Hydras suck ass. They're so bad. So if you got attacked and it was more than you can handle, make roaches at this point. Again, it goes back into the mindset of roaches are good at defending all-ins early on in the game. Once your first upgrade on Hydras is done on the Hydra Den, so whether or not you got speed range or let me pause it one more time and say this. Whether or not you chose to prioritize speed or range for the Hydras, it does not matter. Once one of those 2 upgrades are done, you can start making Hydras. Because if you do it this way, you will start making Hydras off of a fucking amazing economy, and you are going to be able to control the game from that point on super well. Like, it's just going to go smooth sailing for you at that point. You do not want to get caught in a position where you have a bunch of crappy unupgraded Hydras that have no speed, no range, no armor, no missile weapon, and you're getting hit by a bunch of Protoss units, because if that happens, you're going to die. It's like, imagine how easy it is for like Speedlings and Banelings to kill Marines that have no stimpak, no combat shield, no medevac. They're like a joke. That's what Hydras are like versus Protoss if you have no upgrades. So don't make Hydras as a priority when you have no upgrades. So again, now, like if you wait until you have either speed or range, now you do have an upgrade, and by then your other upgrade will be on its way soon enough. So if you start making Hydras then, by the time Hydras spawn, that the actual other upgrade will be like almost done. It'll be like halfway done, and you'll also have 1/1 almost done for the Hydras as well. So if you did get hit by a timing, your upgrades will all kick in during the fight, and you'll have good Hydras. And then once you start making Hydras, that's when you add on your tech, and we'll be going to do a hive and lurkers and stuff like that. So we're going to pair Lurker Den with a hive.
Yep.
All right. So we have great drone count right now. Once your drone count's fully saturated in 4 base as well, you can go ahead and take a 5th base, because around this time your main base is going to start mining out. And now we have those Hydra upgrades looking like they're getting closer to be done. So now we can make Hydras. And now our money is going to just start plummeting, because Hydras are way more expensive. And we also have had a lot of money because we just prioritized drones again. Because we had Lings to control the map. And we, it made our money skyrocket like crazy. So we are cranking out tons of economy right now. So we're starting an infestation pit. We are making tons of Hydras. And we're getting ready to go into that hive tech situation. Also, 2-2 is almost, or sorry, 1-1's almost done, so we're getting ready to start 2-2. Once you have a lot of active creep as well with the queen, where like you feel like every single pathway is going to be kind of covered in creep, you could then send that queen to go start injecting a base and just have it, commit to more larvae.
Yeah. So in the beginning, is it not good to make, additional queens even if you don't know what they're going? Because at least you have some minerals floating around, right?
Early on in the game, you're not going to have a ton of minerals floating around if you start making.
No, I know, but when you have your 3rd thingy. When you have your 3rd, I mean.
My 3rd base fully saturated.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say at that point, queens are kind of irrelevant. Just because if like if you the only time queens are going to be they're going to matter at that point in the game is if it was in fact a Stargate, because if it is ground-based army, your queen like I'm thinking about how I want to say this. If you make queens early on in the game, like at that stage of the game, I'm not going to say I can't saying irrelevant is kind of steep. It's not entirely true. Yes, they could provide more defense for you, and they could provide more creep spread for you, but realistically, if we're talking creep, the only time that will matter is if your creep has been getting killed, because at this point in the game, you should have so many active tumors that you should have every path going anyways. So about the only way creep would benefit is if you also did something like, let's say you got Overlord speed and you got Drop Lords and you started shitting queens out in random locations of the map to like really expedite creep spread by just creating new creep spots all over the place, like in top right and bottom right and stuff like that. But so creep is kind of the same either way, because you already have creep going in every direction as it is. But in terms of defense, if you actually had a situation where your opponent did push you, yes, you could have more defense with let's say like 5 extra queens were made, and now you have those to like just tank some more damage for you and maybe even throw a transfuse here or there. But in reality, all you really need to do is, if you realize you're going to get attacked and you just switch gears into mass units, you will be able to spend all your money either way. The only reason why the money's ramping up is because we're creating cheap units which cost almost nothing, which is drones, and they're also in turn giving me even more money. But if I stopped making drones at any point because I felt threatened, my money would deplete so fast. And if you actually feel threatened and you make units and also queens, you're gonna have larvae sitting there that you can't actually spend. So again, to finally answer your question, the only time you could make queens and afford everything else anyways is if you made drones and queens. But if you do that, the only benefit I see from that is creep spread, which is irrelevant, because you're going to have to throw those queens away anyways, because you're going to max out super fast from here.
Exactly. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So that's why I just would say it's not worth making queens at this stage, in my opinion, unless you know it's Stargate.
Yeah.
All right.
Game resume and unacceptable.
And now we are just cranking out Hydras, spinning all of our gas into Hydra, and once we have no gas, just finish it off on Lings. And now at this stage, when you have just a bunch of Hydras, Lings, and whatever existing roaches you had from earlier, you now are looking for damage. You're also spreading your creep in the meantime, because you're just actively spreading all your tumors. And the way you're going to look for damage, a great way to do it would be something like this. Take your army and go to the edge of his base. Let's say he has a third base here, okay? And you're like, or actually, before we do that, I'm taking a hive, so I also want to take a lurker den. Every time you start a hive, pair that with a lurker den. That's a huge deal, because you want to have lurkers at a good time.
Yeah, they finish out roughly the same.
Yeah. So now, if we're gonna poke his third base with our hydras, you can poke, be non-committal with this, like poke back up, poke back up. If you get him out of position, this creates great opportunity for Lings to just attempt to run into the base and just start wiping probes out. If your Lings do get in the base and you get on probes, I'm sure you know how good that is. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And then from this point on, once you're hive, you start Adrenal, you start 3/3 upgrades once you can, you start Lurker upgrades, and that way you have all your shit going. And here's the final piece of this. This is the huge part that'll help you so fucking much against all Protosses. At this stage, when you're maxed, you have a good economy, and you have a bank that's developing. Go to your main base, make a spine or make 2 spines and a spore. Go to your natural, make 2 spines and a spore. Go to your third base, make 2 spines and a spore. Every base gets like 2 spines and a spore. And your outer bases that are super exposed, maybe make like 5 spines and a spore. And now go back to your main, like make 2 drones. 5 SD, click like at 5 SDD, click your mineral line. Natural, like 3 drones. Third base, couple drones. Fourth base, couple drones. Last base, drones. So you just remade the drones as you made the static D super fast, and you've just created situations where you can now no longer die to like DTs, for instance. And then you immediately go back into your army, add in some lurkers with your lurker upgrades going and your 3/3 upgrades going, and now you have complete map control with good defense, and you can continue to expand while you pressure the map with Lurker, Ling, Hydra. And then from here, all you do is every time you take a new base, you literally go like this. So like look at bottom left. If I'm going to take this base, I would go, okay, hatchery, spore, spine, 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 spine. Just make like 6 spines or 7 spines, a spore, and a hatchery. And then same thing again. As soon as you make all these things, remake the fucking drones. You never just forget to make the drones again. So every time you make static D, You make drones, and you have now once again secured a new base that is not going to die to some fucking zealot pressure or some DT pressure. Here's another another super cool tip, okay? In late game ZvP, 3 lurkers are amazing if you use them a certain way. And this is what you do, okay? So let's just say hypothetically you made a bunch of lurkers, just like I have in the middle of the map. I have 16 lurkers right now, and that's wonderful. What you can do with these lurkers, or fuck, that base is getting attacked right now. But look at the spines, they're gonna kill it. I think the spines will win here. So now, I have a bunch of lurkers, and I want to make sure my bases are defended, and I don't want to like overdo it with a shitload of lurkers that don't need to be everywhere. The great way to do this would be, I take all my lurkers and I do I'll explain what a triangle lurker formation is in a second, but I'm gonna take the furthest exposed 2 expansions on both sides of the map and the main base, and I'm gonna go like this: top, middle base, right click all my lurkers there, shift click one out. Stop doing it. Go bottom left. Click all my lurkers there. Shift one out. Go to my main base. Click all lurkers there. Shift one out. And then I'm going to rebind my group into group like 2 or whatever. I'm going to select the army. I'm going to hold shift burrow. And then I will re-up burrow group 2. And I have now told lurker 1, 2, and 3 to go get to the location and then shift burrow when they get there. So now they are burrowed at my tech and my 2 most exposed expansions, which is the triangle effect, because a lot of your tech is in the main. If a prism goes to the main, having spines and lurker are amazing there. And then if the Protoss ever attacks on the ground without a prism along the right or the left side of the map, he will go to the 2 exposed bases, which also have a lurker. So if I take another base further exposed towards either side of the map, I will shift the lurker to the new base. And then I will also keep, in my main base at this point, it would be a great idea. Once you are at a stage where like you're only fighting, like your bank is developing, you're maxing, and you don't want to die to zealot run-bys with like prisms and shit, in the main base, it would be a fucking super good idea to be like, okay, let's add on like maybe like 7 more spines in the main. That way I don't lose my main tech, rebuild 8 drones or so, and you're good to go. And now I have a shitload of spines and a lurker in the main base that can guard a lot of my tech. So every time I get attacked, I'm not just going to lose everything and be like, oh fuck, I have nothing to defend this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And this is one of the situations too, we're doing this. You promote the fact that if you actually get attacked by Protoss, because they will do it, they bleed money out faster than you do. So that's one benefit, is if you lose, because you set up before it happened, you might lose 200 minerals, like 2 spines might die, while the lurker and spines kill 10 zealots. And you're like, cool, you lost 1,000 minerals, I lost 200. Every time this happens, you're bleeding out 5 times as much money as I am. That's great. Yeah. Another reason why this is super good is because if it also happens to happen in a moment where the Protoss allocates like 20 supply, 10 zealots to go attack your base, and you're also attacking him at the same time, you have only dedicated 9 supply to him dedicating however much supply he wants to hit you with a prism, because each lurker represents 3, and you're only leaving 3 supply to defend your base. But he might send, 12 zealots and 4 DTs at your base, and suddenly now that's fucking like, what is that? It's like 32 supply of Protoss that's hitting your base, and that's now a discrepancy where, like, if you think about your lurker attack hitting his base, his supply and his army is going to be much lower while you siege his base. So like it can hit these timings where it just benefits you like amazingly, because you're using free supply buildings to kill supply units.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so this is fucking huge. You definitely need to do this every game, and the perfect time to add it on is like what I just showed you. Once you max and develop a bank, add that shit on, and you will have such good results. And a good lurker count to go for is anywhere between, I would say, 10 to 16. 10 is good for the minimum. 16 is good for the max. Do not ever go above 16, and try to not ever have below 10, because if you have like 6 lurkers, there's a good chance you can get overrun super easy. Like he might just literally charge you, and you'll be like, wow, he just ran my ass over. That didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So those numbers are great. And the rest would be, you could either have maxed out Hydras, or you could split some of your supply with mostly Hydra with some Zergling. Just know that if you do that, the more Zerglings you make, the more likely you should be setting up counterattacks. So if you want to counterattack, leave some supply for Zergling. If you don't want to counterattack, just go pure Hydra. If you want to just siege the one base, that's fine.
Yep.
A final piece of this, the final piece, would be make sure at some point in the game, again, probably around the time when you start your static D and your lurkers, start making on your hive or your hatcheries burrow and overlord speed. And in your main base, you can also start a Nidus worm. And it gives you more options of initiating counterattacks, which could either be, you could straight up like Nidus Lings into his base, or even furthermore, What if, and here's a super cool tip, okay? Super cool tip. If you want to do this even more advanced technique, 2 Niduses, and watch what you can do with this, okay? Check this shit out. Let's say you want to siege the Protoss' base, and you're like, cool. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go fucking, I'm gonna go set up lurkers outside his base, and I'm gonna get the Protoss' attention so that I can hit whatever I'm trying to hit here. And you know, there's a third there, whatever. Okay, we'll use the third as an example. So you got your army towards the third. You're sieging towards the third. You're like, all right, I'm ready to siege everything. And the Protoss is like gearing up to defend his third base, which you're trying to siege right now. What you can do, which is super cool, is behind your army, you can make a Nidus. Meanwhile, you have an Overlord set up at the side of their base to make another Nidus. So you do double Nidus at the same time. So behind my army, Nidus, in their main Nidus. And now I just stay here sieged. I stay here sieged. I poke. I'm, you know, around the area. And then once the Nidus finishes, I get my Lurkers to go first, load it up, pop out in the main base, and then an Immortal kills it, and we're good to go. Wow, the AI is super good.
Yeah, well, you can make 2 Lurkers or 2 in their main now.
Yeah, exactly. Like if that did happen, you can just make more, and then it's, you know, you're good to go. But this is a cool technique though, because here's the crazy thing: if the Protoss goes, oh shit, there's a Nidus in my main base, and they allocate supply to go defend it, you don't have to use the Nidus. It's free. You can be like, all right, I'll just push your third then. I see a bunch of units killing my Nidus in your base, and my Overlord sees it as well because my Overlord's what's spotting for it. If I count like 30 supply or 20 supply back in your main base being like, a fucking Nidus, freak out, go kill it, I'll just uprow my Lurkers at your third and siege. I'll like shove you and siege even closer to you and just really kill that third. Or if he doesn't allocate enough defense at all or anything, load up into the Nidus and go into his main, and now you're doing a siege within his main base, killing all of his production. So again, it gives you options as Zerg to like threaten positions on Protoss. Yeah. And this is all you do. Counterattacks with Lings, counterattacks with Niduses. And if you get good at this, this is your ticket to Masters. This is not... There's even more advanced ways to play this, but like, with like spellcasters, but that is not at all what you should be doing right now, because it increases the difficulty of this build from like a 6 out of 10 to like a fucking 10 out of 10. Yeah. So, yeah. Any questions about anything about what we just did?
No, seems easy.
Okay, so now the last thing I want to do with you is I want you to do the macro version of what I just showed you. And if you're like confused about like what did you do here, just ask me and I'll relay to you what you should do. But I just want to see if you can, you know, do it yourself and see how you're feeling with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I will give you a Protoss. Ready?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. And then, like I said before, highly recommend you save those replays if you didn't do it. Just don't forget.
Yeah, I will. I already put up, post it.
Oh, nice. Good job. Good shit.
Good boy.
Good boy.
If you want win, don't relax.
Okay, so while he's playing, thank you guys very much for the support that all did it during the lesson. Dr. Ditto, thank you for the 7. Serial Killer, thank you for the 3-month resub. Much love. Oh, much love to you. Mara, thank you very much for the gifted sub.
Do you usually rally the egg, or do you take a drone that is on its way back?
Okay, so what I do is I actually grab a drone from the mineral line at 170. Yeah. 170 minerals is the number.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just asking.
Okay.
Because some say you should just, you know, rally everything down there.
If you do the egg rally, that only makes sense if you're doing a 17 hatch.
Okay.
And the only reason why that is because you'll just have awkward, lopsided money if you don't do that. If you just like do a 16 egg when you're only stopping at 16.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Mara, thank you for the gifted sub. Speckled Rectum, thank you for the host. The one viewer host, thank you, man. Bring yourself in with style. Vaquedo, thank you for the 12-month resub. I haven't played SC too much lately, but still come by to make sure you have my Prime sub. Happy Friday. Vaquedo, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it. Sorry I had to skip it during the lesson, but thank you very much. Nonstick Pan, thank you for the sub as well. And also thank you for the bits, Nonstick Pan. Very much appreciated. Okay, so far so good. Good shit. And then your Overlord, when the Overlord pops in, I would say all you gotta do is wait until you see the tech, and then you can immediately go back to the cliff. And the only time it ever makes sense, or go ahead, what up?
No, the only thing I did that was because it's AI.
No,
So
of course,
usually
I know.
I'll stay out there.
Yeah.
Because-
Make sure you do a tumor. Oh shit. So with this.
Okay, tumor first.
Yeah, tumor with macro, inject with all in.
Yeah.
And then with this one too, 30 supply was your third. You got it. Good shit. Making another queen. So don't forget, 240 was also 2 lings. Don't forget.
Oh yeah. Or yeah.
And then if you see adepts, you make more. If you don't see adepts, you can wait till about 320. So regardless of what happens, around 320, like right now, you start making lings up to 12.
When you pin KM to help
Okay, you got plenty of lings now, or there you go. Now you got it. And then you take your main gas saturated again when you're fully saturated on 2 bases. So the next 2 drones you make should go into that gas. And then you start saturating your 3rd base. And then once your 3rd base is like, and honestly, anywhere between like 10 plus, 8 to 10 plus, or under 16. So over half saturated. Take your other 2 gases at your 3rd. And also start your layer. So first 100 gas beyond link speed is when you start your layer. And another thing that kind of got missed was your roach horn should be made at like 340.
And should I take my second gas now?
Yeah, you should take, over 8 is totally fine. So if you do it at 8 and you take 2 gases, that's fine. If you do it at 16, that's fine. Because your drones are going to be cranking out so fast right now that it's going to be really close together. And then keep injecting. And this is when you're at 16 out of 16 drones on all 3 bases, or like roughly what you're at now. Like again, the timer would be around 5 minutes, as we talked about before. This is when you would be making either mass roaches or more drones. So macro is more drones. So we'll just say you're macroing. So make the safety roaches, which is 6, and then make drones. 6 roaches is just good at defending against all weird types of pressure that can still hit you. And then as soon as you start going back into the drone phase, you start a 4th base. You start a Hydra. You start your last gas all over your bases. And you start your Evo chambers. So all upgrades, all gas, 4th base, and your tech all go down at once. And then don't forget to start your roach speed. Okay, and then keep making drones. Keep fixing your drone count so that you're still fully saturated on 3 bases. And now that you are fully saturated between like 66 to 70, you're at 66 right now. Make a large round of lings, like 1 full round of lings out of your injects. So add on like 20 lings. And then start Hydra upgrades. Perfect. And you can also make an overseer right now too, just to make sure you're okay in like your normal games, just so you don't get fucked by like DTs or something.
Yeah, let's say it's not air.
It also gives the ability to change Ling Scout too, which is always nice. You can run that at his wall as well.
So should you make more links now?
Now,
or?
so I'm going to pause it one more time, and I'm going to say this. Or I can't pause it. You'd have to pause it. It would be, at this point, this is a judgment call, and it's based off of what you're seeing. Because again, you should be scouting a lot right now. With like your Ling should be seeing the thirds.
Yeah.
You should be
Correct.
seeing what's going on. If you feel threatened, you should make a round of whatever you need. If it's like really fucking threatening, you do not make Hydras. You make like roaches. If you feel minorly threatened, you could maybe make a few, like, you could either choose to make a few more roaches or you can make some more Lings or something. I highly advise not making Hydras for any reason right now. They're just not going to be very good. So when you feel threatened, you make roaches again, or maybe some more Lings. If you don't feel threatened, you make drones, and you try to get really, and because again, what you should be doing right now is you should be not only scouting but also feigning threatening, like just being threatening yourself by being in the area of like, I'm gonna attack you, or I'm gonna attack you, I'll poke your fucking wall. Like, just make him feel defensive, and then you make one final round of drones, and then you make Hydras. So your Hydras should start when you're at like 80 drones.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then that's really it. And then as soon as you start making Hydras, infestation pit as well. And then as soon as your infestation pit's done and you start a hive, start your lurker in at the same time. And then that's kind of for the, other than the static D, it's kind of it. It's just like maintaining those buildings then.
Yeah.
All right. So whenever you're ready, go for it. And then 80 drones and then make Hydras. And then don't forget as well, it keeps running your creep. So a big thing too is, just for general concept, make sure wherever you take your fourth base, you prioritize your creep start to go that way first. So like third base first, fourth base second rather. So like, so what I mean is like, instead of going like middle of the map, probably go towards your fourth first and then middle map.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the last thing you want is an exposed mineral line.
Evolution process is finished.
Okay, so your drones are great. Start making Hydras and throw down an infestation pit and make a hive.
More minerals in the
Once the infestation pit's done. And then
Finally, evolution
don't forget your
process
upgrades as well. Like the Hydra upgrade is ready to go. There you go. And yep. Now your money's gonna be kind of high. What up?
Should I be making
Hydras. So your money's gonna ramp up in the drone phase, and then that's when you can just crank out lots of Hydras off of your injects with just that from then on. So right now you're literally gonna just max on Hydras, and if the second you run out of gas, you start making Lings again. So now make a Lurker in because you started a hive. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good shit. Get ready to start 2-2, and since you're gonna start 2-2, probably go back to making Lings for a little bit.
Your army mutated.
So 2-2. There you go. Good shit. And then go back to making Hydras with your gas and make Lings. And start your fifth base as well. So fifth base should go down as well. When the second you go, I'm done making drones, start a fifth base right away.
You have exhausted all the minerals in the cluster. Finally, evolution process successful.
And then right now you're going to be maxed. So if you were doing damage, this is another judgment call. If you don't feel the need that this game's going to go much longer and you are fucking him up, you don't need a static D. You can just straight up kill him right now. If the game is stalemating to a point where you're both kind of splitting the map and you're like, well, I'm not killing him right now. Now I got to wait for lurkers. If you make the connection in your brain where you go, okay, lurkers have to happen now because I'm not going to win the game before that. The second you commit to going actually into lurkers, pair that with static D. So if you're not killing him right now, you should be making static D. And you should be doing, again, like 3 things per base. So like 1 spore, 2 spine at every base. And then at the very most exposed bases, like top middle, for instance, instead of 2 spines, make like 6 spines or something, like extra spines. And then remake all those drones that you spent on it. And then don't forget to start like lurker upgrades in the process, which you just did, or you already have it done, which is amazing. That's good, because again, you're maximizing time. So you're creating time for yourself while you're waiting for upgrades to finish. Anyways, you're being efficient by setting your defense up properly. And your drone count still is 80+, which is nice. Now this is also when, if you wanted to do a power hit, you'd want to get rid of all your roaches. You'd maybe want to get rid of your Lings and maybe try to do a counterattack with them. If you wanted to have a counterattack potential, you could save the Lings either way. But ultimately, roaches are pretty irrelevant right now, so if they still existed, you would want to just get rid of them. And then change that into lurkers, because If you think about it, 6 roaches is 12 supply, and 12 supply is literally 4 lurker.
Evolution process is finished.
You never go bailing.
Not with this style, no.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, sir.
banelings, what that would do is it would keep you on layer tech longer, and it would prevent your hive tech from being as fast. And hive tech lurkers is the power of this style, because lurkers, once you have hive tech upgrades, are drastically better than banelings. They're so much fucking better. So the baneling style would be a much more aggressive mid game. This style does not need to be aggressive in the mid game. It's more of a poke in the mid game, but the ultimate time when you go aggressive is when you have lurker hive tech.
Okay. Basically, I mean, now it's 11 minutes, so.
So now, yeah, exactly. Like your lurkers are fully upgraded now in about the next 10 seconds, 8 seconds, and you would try to do the triangle lurker thing I told you about, where you move all lurkers to the 3 spots and shift one out at a time, and then tell all lurkers to all burrow, like shift burrow, and then you can just go back to controlling the lurkers in group 2 that don't have the 3 lurkers inside of it. And that way, the lurkers that you sent to a location will, you know, they'll be where they're gonna be. What's up?
I don't know. Where did it go? Okay, I missed one in the main.
Yeah, you put 2 in the top middle base. You have none in the middle left base, and you have.
Okay. That didn't go as planned.
Yeah,
okay.
you had 1 in the other base, like below your main. So again, you don't need to do it at every base. You just want to do it at the exposed bases, like the bases that are most likely going to be attacked because they're the furthest exposed. And then obviously your tech is going to be a huge one to cover.
Forces are under attack.
Okay.
And
So
then
basically now, yeah, that's it.
yeah, and it would just be literally remaking. Like now is when you could add on the double Nidus if you wanted to, and you could just set up Lurker, Ling, Hydra attacks over and over and over, and just you can try to be creative with it. Try to like pull him out of position, run Lings into his base, Nidus into his base, straight up push his base if you're doing well and he's like breaking over and over. However you want to set it up would be great, but it's just Lurker, Ling, Hydra. And the fact that your Lings have a dream. Also, don't forget. Okay, you got it now. So I was gonna say, once you have Hive,
Yeah, I've got it before.
yeah,
Yeah.
Adrenal is huge. So try to just remember, always pair Adrenal with Lurker upgrades, and then you'll always have it.
Yeah.
No more minerals in the field.
And what I
That
do,
was hard to do that thingy.
what
That,
the
when
Lurker
you're
thing?
gonna- yeah.
Practice it. Do like so again.
Yeah.
Do it one more time, and I'll tell you exactly how I would do it, like with my mouse and what I'm doing. So I would have all my lurkers in like group 2, for instance. And let's. Like, how many do you have
Yeah.
exactly? You have 11. So
In my group.
let's say you have 11.
should-
What?
Right.
What's up?
You said minimum 10 lurkers?
Yeah, 10's great. 10's fine. 10's good on the minimum side. 16 is good on the maximum side. So
Yeah.
anywhere in there is fucking wonderful. It's great.
Mutation has completed.
So what you could do is if you select all your lurkers in your army, and then up burrow all of them, and now all you do is you right click the top right base of yours, and just move command it in the middle of the mineral line, shift click 1 lurker out, go to the other base now, right click the mineral line, shift click a lurker out, go to your main base, right click the mineral line, shift click a lurker out. Now hit control 2. Now that all the lurkers are out of the 3 lurkers are out of your army. And then reselect all army. So select everything. And hit your lurkers and hit shift burrow. And then you can have group 2 move again right afterwards. And group 2 can be a lurker group. But now you have those lurkers you deselected that go to each base and burrow. You can do this command in about 1 second if you get really, or like more like 2 seconds if you get really fast at it.
Your minerals is ended.
Because it's literally just, you can even do mini map, by the way. You don't even have to do the screen. You can do it mini map, shift burrow, 2 move.
Yeah. So I'll try that again.
It just the trick is, make sure when you shift click out 3 lurkers, you rebind group 2. Okay, you have to do that, otherwise it'll fuck everything up. Because then if you tell group 2 to move command after you told the lurkers you've deselected
Yeah, I
to
think
shift
that's
burrow,
what I did. Yeah.
because then it'll just move them again as well. So it's 12 like again, let's say you have 12, okay? 12 lurkers, shift 1, 11, shift 1, now 10, shift 1 again, now you have 9. Shift all lurkers with burrow, and then You have group 2, which is only 9, which can move again, and now they have the 9 Lurkers do whatever you want.
Army is much stronger now.
I shift
No
them
more
out.
minerals
No,
in
I
the
didn't.
field.
Oh, I did. Okay, yeah, got it.
Now watch your Lurkers, see if they burrow.
Someone
Yeah, that one
should
burrowed.
full power of a sword.
This one burrowed,
Yeah, I think
This
I
one
forgot
burrowed?
someone.
and this one actually
Oh,
didn't
that
burrow.
one did. Oh. Okay, now it
So just keep in mind, you're only telling the burrow to happen once. You're not telling it to happen 3 times.
did. No, I know. Yeah.
Okay, good shit.
Easy.
Okay,
Okay,
so
cool.
any questions about anything?
You might expand.
This is a
No.
great way to help you go further to masters, but yeah, man.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, dude.
Really appreciate it.
I would say the way this build could advance further, like I was kind of mentioning before, would be if you feel like you are get this down really well, like this general concept.
You have
That's
exhausted
super important to be able to handle this with like a high efficiency. But adding on infestors and or vipers or both would be a great way to advance this build to even further higher level degrees. And then for the ultimate highest level degree of what this build is capable of, it would be not only adding on both infestors and vipers, but also adding
Yeah,
on
that's-
static D pushes with creep spread,
Not drunk with Wizard.
like
Yeah.
spores and spines and shit. And you push your Protoss with it. So that would be the ultimate like pro level of playing this build.
Your extractor has
Yeah, that's a little bit overkill.
Yeah, exactly. It's just things you can look forward to in the future if you get that far.
Yeah.
All right,
Look
man.
forward to it.
Well,
Thank you so much.
yeah, good shit.
Greatly
Thanks for
appreciate it.
yeah, much love. Shout out to
Much
Wally.
love. Take care. Yeah, for sure.
All right, dude.
Thanks.
Yep.
Be
Have
safe.
have a good
Bye.
day. See you, man.
You too. Bye.
All right, guys. Boom. That has been a coaching lesson with Yellow B. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please don't hesitate to hit that follow button or subscribe or whatever on YouTube. I have lots more stuff like this out there, so go check it out if you're interested. And yeah, anyone who found this helpful, good luck to you as well. And hopefully you guys crush some Protoss nerds in the ladder. But until next time, see you guys.